Hey guys, welcome back to Psychic Celluloid Signals. Nate just dropped by, so we thought we'd do something a little bit different today.
We're going to actually do a movie review a little bit differently than we've done in the past. We're going to actually talk to each other about Guardians of the Galaxy Vol.2.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we haven't just seen the movie. It's been
a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. Yeah. But it's still pretty fresh in both of our minds, and we just wanted to talk about like the big things in the movie. And quick note: there will be some spoilers, mild spoilers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just if you haven't seen the movie yet,
might wanna check it out first.
Mm-hmm. All right. So also, this is our talking points notebook. All right. So to start things off, in general, Josh, what would you rate the movie? Like, would you say it was overall a good film? Would you say it was kind of underwhelming?
I think it had very good parts and very not so good parts for me, personally, and we're going to get more into the not so good parts for me when we start to talk about characters and stuff like that. But what did you think?
I want to say that the good for me outweighed the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I am always a little bit skeptical, especially of Marvel sequels. They seem to kind of lose momentum after the first film. But this movie really, in my opinion, kept up with the success of the first one. I thought that, we're going to get into it more, but I just thought that it was an overall general improvement on where the first movie succeeded rather. But do you want to lead off with the first topic?
Sure. The characters.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought that overall the characters were made very well. There's one character that I was not very thrilled with. That I don't think you quite agree with me, but I felt that Kurt Russell's character Ego was pretty cliche. And I thought that was kind of sad because I really like Kurt Russell. I think he did a phenomenal job playing his character in this film. I just felt that the whole character, and this is a little bit where we're going to get into little spoilers, the character of, oh, I'm the nice guy, and then he turns on you at the end and eats you or whatever. I felt like that's
a spike through your stomach.
that's been beaten like a dead horse in my opinion. But I guess it was somewhat interesting how they approached it. But nevertheless it felt pretty cliche to me. But it did have some redeeming qualities from Kurt Russell playing the character. I thought he did a really good job with it.
Yeah, to go with what you were saying about Ego, I liked how the director, James Gunn, I like how he approached the cliche. He kind of gave it a new spin, because I'm sure, as you, the viewers, know, Marvel movies have a tendency of using the same kind of like, what would be like the third act of every movie, where there's like this destructive force, like this giant beam from the sky, or this giant blob of ooze, or
the Avengers cliche.
Oh yeah. Avengers too.
Yeah.
But with this movie, it felt like a natural progression. Like Ego, for example, is somebody that he has a very narcissistic personality where he wants to spread his image all across the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense to me that he would want to turn every planet into an extension of himself. I also felt too that it was a very natural connection between him and Star-Lord. Like, you can see where the relationship would come from. They're both very into themselves in like kind of like a confident sort of way. They both have a way with women. I mean, I liked too that there was heartbreak. Like, there was genuine heartbreak for me, and I'm sure for other viewers, when he kind of had to let Star-Lord down with his plan, because obviously Star-Lord is completely against, wanting to turn the entire universe into ego.
Yeah.
And you see very quickly how Kurt Russell is, Mr. Nice Guy, like Josh was saying, and just completely, like a flip of a switch, just, oh, if you're not going to help me, then bam, bam, spikes through the chest, and you're basically going to do what I say no matter what. And it was heartbreaking because, he's Star-Lord's father, so, Star-Lord finds his actual dad, and then he's just like this asshole. It was nice to see Star-Lord in that scene. Like, it was nice to see him kind of, like, be a kid again, Like, he found his dad, and they're connecting and bonding, and it was kind of like he was getting a piece of himself that he had lost. Or at least supposedly had lost. What was I going to say? I can probably cut this out.
I kind of jump in here, actually. I definitely did dig the whole ego trying to spread his ego-ness throughout the universe. I thought that actually was something that was unique. And I guess my biggest criticism, if we could kind of encapsulate my criticism of Ego's character into one solid little thing, is that I wish they had spent a lot more time focused on that aspect of his character as opposed to the I'm a good guy, no, I'm a bad guy, come work for me and do all this evil stuff with me. I wish they had focused a lot more on his whole colonization, maybe his past, because his character was really underdeveloped. The most development you get from his character, I think, is in the beginning when they creepily make Kurt Russell look like incredibly young. I don't know if anyone else was kind of shocked by how young Kurt Russell looked in the beginning, but I definitely was. But I think that's the where you see the most development of his character, and I feel like I wish there was a little bit more. I wish that I knew his character a little bit more. I wish there was something also to his character that made me empathize with him. That's always something I look for in antagonist, is something to empathize with. Like, as you guys know, some of my favorite antagonists and anti-heroes are very, you can definitely empathize with them. They're very likable. Whereas he was likable for a little bit, and then it was just, you could tell it was all crap.
Maybe that's what I like about Ego. I like that he's not a typical villain. He would be like that family member that when you're doing really well for yourself, or when you have a lot of money, suddenly this guy comes out of the woodwork and is like, hey, remember me? I'm your great uncle, or I'm your second cousin. Like, he's acting all nice, and he's basically trying to use Star-Lord. So I kind of like that aspect. I like that he plays sort of like this person that really is just selfish and wants something for himself. But I will agree with Josh that villains in movies that have something relatable are always way more interesting than just the classic, I want to do bad because evil.
Yeah. I think we beat the death out of Ego.
Oh yeah, we did. Let's talk about. Want to talk about Yondu?
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts on Yondu are that he definitely made a huge improvement from the first film. The first film, he's kind of just like this lovable punk. He's just like you love to hate him, I guess. Like, and in this movie, they make him a father figure too to Star-Lord, but it's a lot more rewarding in the end.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot more rewarding. A lot of tragedy surrounding his story as a whole in the film. I felt he was the kind of like anti-hero that I could really empathize with in that film.
I would agree with that.
Especially during a little bit of spoilers, during the whole mutiny on his ship, and him getting imprisoned and half of his crew being like shot out of airlocks into fucking space. I felt that he was definitely the character that I empathized with maybe the most in the film.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, he kind of had the gamut of kind of different emotions and stuff that you felt for him. Like, you felt fucking hate in some points. You felt like you really cared for him in some points, and maybe indifferent in some points.
I love. Do you remember that scene where he's talking to Rocket, and they're on the ship together, and he's just grilling Rocket. He's just like, you know, you're trying to push everybody away. You're trying to cut out all of your friends and everyone who ever loved you. And Rocket keeps going like, shut up, man. I don't like this. I don't like that you're saying that. And it's just so, it hits you because it's like, I know who you are because I used to be you.
Yeah.
And it's, usually when you see those scenes, it's kind of like a groan, like, oh, they're doing this again.
Yeah.
But this one, it worked because it's two people that are unlikable. Usually unlikable, but they kind of bond in this scene and kind of bring out the best in each other. And that's where they come in to, later in the movie, help out.
Yeah, it definitely helped to set what was going to happen in the end of the film. We won't say anything further about that.
Generous. We'll be generous.
But yeah, that definitely was
that was probably
strong.
That was probably like top 3 scenes with Yondu for me. I thought that was a brilliant scene, brilliant interaction with Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
Which is funny to say because, I mean, it's just like, you wouldn't think that like a raccoon would be so dynamic in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, props to Bradley Cooper. He does that character justice for sure.
Yeah. All right. What's our next talking point?
I do want to make. I'm sorry to go back to ego on you guys, but I just want to make one quick criticism that I have that I thought of. I didn't like the whole tumor thing. I felt like when Ego was like, it's a shame I had to give your mother a tumor, or a brain tumor, to me that felt a little bit forced. Like that was kind of like the green light for the audience to be like, oh, he's the bad guy, or oh, he's an unlikable jerk.
If we didn't already have,
Yeah.
have that feeling anyway.
They basically needed a reason for Star-Lord to hate Kurt Russell's character, Ego. And they just went swinging for the fence with, he gave the mother a tumor.
Yeah, I feel like they had enough to, because he was gonna destroy these planets and take them over for himself. He was pretty awful already.
Yeah,
he didn't need to do that.
Like, it works and it doesn't work for me. Like, I don't like, it does seem forced, but I think James Gunn, he did what he could. Like, he tried to make it natural. Like, oh, Ego's narcissistic, so he really can't love anybody, like, authentically love. He can only project it onto other people, like his love of himself. And, yeah, it was just, it clashed with me. Like, I could see it working, but, at the same time, it didn't work for me personally, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say same. Definitely.
The next talking point would be the soundtrack. I'll lead off with this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, you all know, the first movie's soundtrack is brilliant. Every song has its place, earns its place. For me personally, I love David Bowie's Moon Age Daydream.
Yeah.
Especially that scene is really good. Very good for the atmosphere of the film. But obviously we're talking about the second movie, which, for those of you who have seen it, Mr. Blue Sky in the beginning is obviously an entertaining scene, having Baby Groot dance around. ELO is great too, I love that band, but...
Yeah.
For me personally, the songs in the second movie weren't as strong as the first one. I wouldn't even say, would you say it was like more for quantity over quality? Like, they used a lot of songs, but not all of them really hit a home run. You know, it's just kind of like they had it just to have an old song. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like they didn't have. I feel like the movie could have used a couple like heavy hitters.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that you're like, yeah, that's that song.
You know what I really wanted actually? In the commercial, they had Suffragette City by David Bowie.
Yeah.
That would have been so kick-ass.
Yeah.
In a scene where like they're fighting someone.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah. Why did they put that in the trailer?
They should.
They do that a lot. They make a trailer and it has an awesome song and you're like, oh yeah, that song's gonna be in that movie.
Pumps you up.
And you get there and you're watching the movie and you're like, alright, the movie's 2/3 over. They gotta be playing it sometime soon. But yeah, definitely agree. They went for quantity over quality, either intentionally or not. And I don't think it worked for me as well. Mm-hmm. But it still definitely was it was solid enough.
It was solid, yeah. It wasn't like bad, it just wasn't as good.
Yeah.
I do also like the scene, I forget the name of the song, it escapes me, but I want to say it's a Sam Cooke song, and they play it when Star-Lord wants to dance with Gamora, and you know, he's telling her like, oh, this is Sam Cooke, you know, it's like one of the most romantic singers ever, and then they have like that dance scene, and it really works for me. Like, it really establishes like a romantic connection, even though she's kind of distant, and she's like, she doesn't think there's anything between them, but I would say that song and Mr. Blue Sky were probably my two favorites in the movie.
Good.
Could just be because I'm not really a huge fan of Brandy.
Yeah.
They definitely tried to make that like the crucial song.
It didn't work as well as no. What's our next talking point?
Let's see. Do we talk about the plot, or
we talked about the plot a little bit? I think we could say there's kind of like two plots going on throughout the majority of the film. We've got the plot with like Yondu and that whole
this mutiny of his crew.
Yeah, and then we've got the plot on Ego's planet, Ego's self, or whatever. And me personally, as I kind of probably made pretty clear with what I've said so far, I found the plot with Yondu a lot more compelling, a lot less predictable, and a lot more like emotionally genuine, and just kind of it elicited a lot more emotion from me.
I can respect that
than the other plot. But as not to say the other one was terrible, I just felt that part of the film definitely impacted me a lot more than the Ego planet part. But what was your thoughts?
I do want to say I do agree with you. I think that Yondu, the plot with Yondu and his crew, it wasn't like a textbook plot. It was very, like, the emotions that come from it. It's from like not obscure. What word am I looking for? It's from a very unique standpoint where his crew is like slowly turning on each other, and there's kind of like this new definition of tragedy where Yondu and his friends are, you know, being sucked into space and thrown into space, and that guy Taserface. They're all laughing at him.
Yeah, it had all sorts of emotions. There was comedy there for sure. There was tragedy, and I don't know. I feel like if they had captured the same kind of feels from that half of the film and had it in the Ego half as well, this film would have been like, oh crap, that's a masterpiece right there.
I think I will say what I do like about the other plot is I like watching Star-Lord. I like watching him try to connect with his father. I like watching him learn about himself. I like how there's the one scene where he discovered he can make things with the life force in the planet. I liked how he was learning about himself and getting to know his dad, and it was almost kind of like I think I mentioned earlier in the video, it was like a part of himself he found it again. And The other people were like, something's wrong, something's off. But of course, Star-Lord is blind to it because he's kind of lost in this new feeling of, like, these new feelings and new sensations. There were some pretty amusing parts too. I liked with Drax and Mantis. I liked how they kind of played off each other. Like Drax kept saying, like, "Oh, please, I find you repulsive," and she's, of course, confused by all of this, and she's like, "I am ugly," and then Gamora later has to be like, "You're not ugly."
Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was good stuff.
I liked too. I don't know if you remember this part. I liked when Drax was kind of reminiscing about, I think, like, the death of his daughter's family, and Mantis, like, touches him, and she just, like, bursts into tears.
Yeah, he was like, he's completely like blunt affect, like no emotion or anything on his face, and she just like.
I thought that was really cool, like, just how, like, you just get, like, there's just this deep reservoir of just, like, anguish inside of Drax, and you wouldn't get that because, especially in this movie, because he's more of a comedic role, so you kind of forget that he had a tragic history.
It's all pressed down.
Yeah.
Like...
What are some other characters that were... I think Nebula, we should probably talk about her, because she's kind of just like she's like a bad guy in the first movie that is just sort of like there, like she's not really crucial. I thought they did a good job with making you feel for her too, like the pain that she went through was more physical, like she had her brain taken out, she said, and had all of these like robotic implants, and you find out that the reason that she got all of that was because she kept losing in fights with her sister, Gamora. And that's when she's like, I just wanted a sister. Like, you kept wanting to win. And all I wanted was someone there for me. And you understand, like, her anger and her frustration in that, which I thought was wonderfully done.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely... It was, I think it was especially kind of, I don't know what's the word. It was... much more intense because it was like she literally had been like ripped apart and dismembered because of this. It wasn't like regular familial kind of issues that we're used to, so that kind of,
it was like hardcore like mutilation. It was,
that definitely upped the emotional impact of that, I think, for sure.
We touched on Rocket, like how he really comes out with he plays off really well with Yondu. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
But he is admittedly a little stagnant in the beginning. He's kind of just like, he's sort of like the jerk, he's just like, I don't care what happens to you, Quill, like, because they're fighting in the beginning, and he's basically just trying to push everybody away, and it does get a little bit, like, that was kind of a cliche for me. I don't know what you would think.
Yeah, it definitely.
But they did bring it back with Yondu, and I thought that was really good. I guess all that's left would be, do you think Gamora had anything, like, change with her, or any dynamic?
I don't know. I don't have anything really notable to mention off the top of my head.
She definitely knows that something's up. Like, she picks up on it sooner than the others. She definitely does have like a warming up too with Star-Lord. Like, they establish on the romantic feelings a lot more. But she plays her like badass self. Kills people and
yeah. So I think it's time. I think it's definitely Baby Groot time.
Baby Groot time. Baby Groot gets his own segment.
Yeah. This segment for Baby Groot. All right. So, yeah, Groot is now a baby. Spoiler if you haven't seen the first one. um, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on Baby Groot?
Yeah.
Hated him. No, I'm kidding.
Awful. Worst character.
I love Baby Groot. I'm one of those people. And the only reason I say that is because I know that Baby Groot's going to be like the new sensation, and everyone's going to be like, Baby Groot, bobbleheads and
stuffed Baby Groots.
Yeah, stuffed Baby Groots, pencil caps. They still make those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked Baby Groot because he was useful, but he was also entertaining.
Mm.
Like he actually did some things, and they even had him kind of save the team with the whole bomb thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also humorous in that regard. He was really close to destroying all of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, the dance scene in the beginning is very funny and very cute. They're playing Mr. Blue Sky in the background, and he's dancing around. And I like too when Drax falls on the. I think he falls. What was it, like a boombox or something? Like he lands on it, and then Baby Groot's just like like beating him up because he's mad, and Drax is just like, what?
Yeah, I definitely found Baby Groot quite amusing as well, especially in that intro scene. That was pretty hilarious.
How about that one scene? That was where he's on the ship. That was kind of heartbreaking. They're like dumping alcohol and like liquor on him. And just
that was terrible. That was more of like that half of the movie with Yondu and his crew and shit. Yeah, that was pretty awful as well.
Definitely, yeah. Also, the scene too in that with Yondu when he's like, "There's a fin in the drawer. I need you to go get that." He brings back like all these different things and
brings back like a friggin' toe or something. Oh, do you guys have any toes lying around the ship? No. And then, what's his name comes and brings it.
Oh yeah, the tall dude. I don't know his name, but
the guy. What's his name? What's his name comes and saves the day.
I always call him Captain's Gonna Teach Stuff guy. They even make you feel sorry for him too. Like the one scene where he's talking to Yondu and he's like, they killed all my friends. Like you feel something for him. You're like, oh man. Like just watching your friends get sucked into the vacuum of space, and that was impressive. Because I mean, I wrote him off as just like dumb, like space hick. Just like, like I said, with like the Captain's Gonna Teach Stuff.
Yeah.
Like just some throwaway crony. Just some villain, and they actually make you feel something for him. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And that actually reminds me, before we finish this off, we need to mention that if you go see this in theaters, or even if you see it at home, make sure you watch it all the way through the credits. Because there are like 5 endings or something like that.
Marvel's not holding back anymore. It's not just one ending, and it's like 5.
Yeah, there was many things, all like different characters. You see like a little vignette of their post Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 life, which was pretty.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I like the yearbook theme too with the credits.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
I would say, would you want to wrap it up now, or should we talk about the setting? More?
I don't know. I think we pretty much hit all the most important points.
So we can just kind of wrap it up and with just like a overall, would you recommend it?
Yeah. So, would you recommend it?
Would I? I would absolutely recommend this film. This film was, I would say it was a 9 out of 10, like, if not a 10 out of 10. Like, it was very good, and it was definitely an improvement where the first movie left off, and I think you would definitely get your money's worth.
I would definitely, I'd recommend it as well if you've seen the first film and you liked the first film.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw the first film and you liked the first film, you're probably going to like this one, I think. If you saw the first film and didn't like it, pass it, because I don't think you're going to like this one as well if you didn't like the first one. And if you haven't seen the first one, what are you doing? Go check out the first one. And I'd say with that, let's wrap this up. As always, remember to keep it psychic
and keep it real.